Hey there. So welcome to episode 6, Push to Alaska Part 2. In this episode, I make it to Deadhorse, the northernmost point by road in the world. The road north out of Hinton towards Dawson Creek and towards Fort Nelson sort of moved away from the Rockies. It became flat and sort of featureless and, well, to be honest with you, quite boring. There's one thing that I did come to grips with on those roads over a couple of days, is that I like to get up early in the morning and there's no one else on the road at that time of day, and the roads are in the middle of nowhere, and I finally became very comfortable with being by myself on these roads, not worrying about a breakdown, not worrying about getting hurt, not worrying about anything really. It was a moment for me, and it's one of those things during my trip that I've learned, and reaching that level where I was comfortable being alone like that really changed the nature of my trip. So I holed up in a hotel in Fort Nelson on the Alaska Highway. There's not much there in Fort Nelson, but the hotel, I scored a great parking spot with my motorcycle right up underneath the awning. That night it rained like the dickens, the hardest rain I've seen in a long time, and it was a harbinger for things to come. The next day, as I left Fort Nelson, the rain continued. There was a lot of construction with the roads that just weren't perfect. They were okay. I've noticed that the further I travel north, there's a lot of hard pack dirt with some pea-sized gravel on top that's very common. And but riding through the mountains, I was a little disappointed because I knew the scenery would have been beautiful as I was heading west, but nope, I couldn't see much of it. Just fog and rain, and eventually, though, later on in the day, it did sort of clear up a little bit and got nice. All right, so we're in Muncho Lake Provincial Park. This is the road. See that? And we're stopped for construction. We're waiting on a pilot car. But it is beautiful around here. It's all around. I stopped at a place I saw, it said north of 60, so I thought maybe I'm at 60 degrees. Well, inside I learned that north of 60 means the prices go up. Everything is more expensive, like double the cost of what I'm used to in the U.S. Later that day I made it to Liard River Hot Springs National or Provincial Park, a beautiful park. It's really literally in the middle of nowhere. Very peaceful, very quiet, but they are famous for their hot springs, and I walked down this boardwalk a quarter of a mile to the hot springs and hopped in, and it was very, very nice. After a long day of riding, it was beautiful. Later that evening I was talking to a ranger, and he was telling me that there was on that boardwalk just a couple of weeks ago, a couple were mauled by a black bear, and of course that's the time I went down there without my bear spray, but holy crap. So that night I don't think I slept a wink worrying about a bear ripping into my tent. The next day I made it up into the Yukon. I was heading towards Watson Lake. I did see some bison on the side of the road. First time I've ever seen those. Watson Lake is famous for its signpost forest. Signs from all over the world. I mean, literally tens of thousands of signs. Watson there is responsible for adding new posts as the last one fills up. I did manage to get my sticker there on a big sign of Seattle, which is where I plan on ending up, which was pretty cool. Again, the road west out of Watson Lake, I just started to see more and more of the hard pack stuff. I mean, it's not bad. I didn't, at that point I had good weather, so you could just sort of cruise along on it, but it's a really hard packed dirt, again with just this pea-sized gravel on it. Not really a big deal at all. There's no sharp turns on the highway or anything, so it was fun. So today I am about halfway up the Yukon. Dawson is this way, up the Klondike Highway, just another hour or so. And back this way, the Klondike Highway ends in Whitehorse, which is where I stayed last night. Pretty flat, uneventful roads until the last few minutes, and then it sort of opened up into this large valley behind me. And the weather has improved dramatically. I was in my rain gear most of the day, but just beautiful. I'm at a pretty interesting intersection here of highways. Behind me is a road that goes from Whitehorse up to Dawson City, known as the Klondike Highway. And Dawson's just a couple of miles up the road. And I'm sitting at the intersection with the Dempster Highway. The Dempster Highway goes for about, I don't know, 500 miles due north up to Inuvik. And so many people consider that, their Prudhoe Bay, particularly if they're Canadian, I guess. But you could take 2 days to go up, 2 days to come back, but there's nothing there, and it's almost all dirt. Somewhere on this stretch, my GoPro, which I hang down off the front end towards my front tire, took a rock right in the front of it, which really pissed me off because I use that thing all the time. And of course, I have to replace it, which sucks because it's like a day's worth of travel money to replace this thing. Oh well. So from Whitehorse, I headed north up towards Dawson City in the Yukon. Dawson City was established as a mining town like 120 years ago when the gold rush happened in the Yukon. And much of its original roots remain today. The streets are all dirt. There's boardwalks along each street for the buildings. There's neat little shops and restaurants everywhere. There's this one place, Gertie's, or Diamond Tooth Gertie's. Diamond Tooth Gertie's, they have burlesque shows starting at 8, and there's another show at 10, and another one at 12:30 in the morning, and each show is progressively more risque. I caught the early show, which was pretty damn cool. Then I played some dollar blackjack, which was fun. Because I'm not gambling my travel money. But I stayed in the bunkhouse, which is one of the hotels there. It's sort of it's like a large hostel, a very, very tiny little room with a shared bathroom. But it was a cool little town. You got to see Dawson, and particularly if you're going up towards the top of the world, you got to see this place. So I stayed in Dawson for 2 days, and then the following day I got up and took the ferry across the Yukon River, which marks the beginning of the top of the world highway. It's about 60 miles or so of dirt, packed dirt and gravel, over to the U.S.-Canadian border, or the Canadian-U.S. border. Beautiful views. There's no guardrails, which makes it kind of scary, but and you're literally on top of these mountains as you're riding through them. And again, I had good weather. Once you get to the border and you continue west, it turns into the Taylor Highway. Oof. Good morning. So here I am in Chicken, Alaska. I just came across the border east of here, and then top of the world highway changed into the Taylor Highway. And I'm telling you what, that is a shit road. It is horrible. It's potholes, and it's all dirt, and lots of gravel, lots of loose gravel. It's about 40 miles. It probably took me an hour and a half to cover that 40 miles. But here I am. I'm in Alaska. So after I left Chicken, I headed over to Tok. I stayed for the night in a hotel there, and then headed up to Fairbanks and stayed in a hotel there. Actually, in Fairbanks, I stayed at Eielson Air Force Base in the on-base lodging. Really nothing much to say about that, but I did in Fairbanks meet a friend of mine online. His name is Brian Thiessen. He's been planning an indefinite around-the-world trip for several years now, and he's on it. He just started a few weeks ago from Victoria in BC, and we decided to meet up in Fairbanks to take on the Dalton together. The next day we left Fairbanks and headed up towards Coldfoot. We each had about a gallon of extra gas, but we were worried because from Fairbanks to Coldfoot, it's probably about 280 miles, which is just at the limit of what both of us expected our gas tanks and our spare cans to carry us. Thankfully, there was a stop in Yukon River Junction that has gas, so we filled up there and had no worries. That day was hot and dry and dusty, and we sort of just floated along on this hard-packed gravel, no problems. Several times we were asking ourselves, what's the big deal? How could this be? But, why is this such a challenging road? But later we would find out why. Morning. Is it morning still? I think it's morning. So, here we are in the Alaska, about to turn into the Alaska tundra. We're just a few miles right up the road on the Dalton from the Arctic Circle. And beautiful weather today. It's about 85 degrees. It's dry as a bone, so it's very dusty. But we are out in it. I mean, this road was built for hauling stuff up and back from Prudhoe Bay. And there's no facilities. Actually, there's one at Yukon River. There's a gas station. But it's just beautiful. All the road is dirt. It's just dirt, gravelly stuff. I've been just pinning it at 50 miles an hour in 4th gear with cruise control. You could just zoom right along, no problem. So several times on the Dalton you'll find construction and you got to follow a pilot car. Sometimes you have to wait for a few minutes for the pilot car. Sometimes you got to wait for a while for the pilot car. But we were pretty lucky. Not a big deal. Just south of Coldfoot. I don't remember how far, but you do cross the Arctic Circle, and they've got a sign there, and crowds seem to gather, and so we stopped and got our pictures taken. All right, so we just made it into Coldfoot. This is Coldfoot Camp behind me. It's a nice restaurant. Of course, you're going to want to eat here because there's nothing else between here and Fairbanks. There's a little store in Yukon River, but this is a restaurant. And this is also the very last place that you can get gas before Deadhorse. 240 miles that way. Alright, so tonight we're in Wiseman. So we didn't stay in Coldfoot, instead we stayed in Wiseman, which is about 15 miles north of Coldfoot. There's a turnoff on the road that leads down a 3-mile or so dirt road to this tiny collection of houses and lodges. It was pretty neat, very rustic. There's not a lot there. Very important point here is that there's no beer. There's no beer. You can get a beer in Coldfoot to drink at the table, but you can't take it with you. You can't buy beer in Coldfoot or Wiseman. So if you want beer, bring it with you from Fairbanks. The next day we left Wiseman and headed towards Deadhorse, which is about, from Wiseman, it's about 225 miles. Again, it was a beautiful day. It was very dry, sort of dusty. We stopped several times. Once you get north of the Adigan Pass, the mosquitoes are just horrendous. You get off the bike and we've timed it. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes and then you're just completely covered in mosquitoes. And they are pesky. Morning. Check this place out. This is the Dalton Highway. We're about 40 miles north of Wiseman. Yeah, it's all dirt, but we're just now started heading up into the mountains towards Adigan Pass. And it's just beautiful. And we're about to head over just straight up this road here, which will take us up towards the Adigan Pass. This is about 4,600 feet. But it's just beautiful. Lots of mosquitoes. Lots of mosquitoes. Just saw some sort of mountain goat something over there. Some ram maybe. Oh, but this place is just amazing. All right, so we're still on the Dalton Highway. We're about halfway between Wiseman and Deadhorse. We've passed all the mountains. We've passed all the trees. And this is what we have. Just these big grasslands. And you know, we're well above the Arctic Circle now. The road's not bad. It's really not bad. You can fly along at 45, 50 miles an hour. No problem. We've had no rain. It's kind of dry and dusty actually. But there are a gazillion mosquitoes. I don't know if you can see them, but wow. So in Coldfoot, we'd heard from several people about construction outside of Deadhorse, and had us a little concerned. They were talking about apple-sized gravel, and well, it turned out to be true, and I didn't film any of it because my GoPro was dead by that point, but it was pretty gnarly. And about 30 miles of just mixed roads, soft stuff, dirt they just laid down, to really deep sort of pea gravel, to all the way up to this just, again, apple-sized gravel. It just sucked. But we just sort of powered through it. Really irritated that the pilot car would go so slow because it helped going fast. But we both made it. Neither of us came off, and we finally got into Deadhorse. In Deadhorse, we stayed at the Aurora Hotel. Really, really nice. It's brand new, it seemed. Inside, it's like a cruise ship. It's expensive as hell. But we each had our own room with a shared bathroom. All the food you can eat. They have 3 meals a day, but then they also have this little snack area where you can just get all the food you want, including stuffing it in your top box. I had this really neat art spread out throughout the place, which was really cool. The internet was just amazing, and it was complimentary, which made us happy because there's nothing in Coldfoot or Wiseman. But it was a very good stay. We stayed 2 nights in Deadhorse. The next day we took a tour, which you have to pay for, up through the oil fields to the Arctic Circle. And they do that because it's a security area and you just can't go strolling through there. But I did get to dip my feet in the Arctic Ocean, and several other people, more brave than I am, I guess, you know, stripped down and jumped in. But that was a pretty cool day, visiting the Arctic Ocean. Before leaving, I had to make sure I went over to the Prudhoe Bay General Store and checked that out. And capture an iconic picture that I've seen so many people before me do. That was cool. And the rest of the day I spent in my room worrying about that construction outside of Deadhorse and the rain that was planned for the following day. Okay, that's it for this episode. I do want to emphasize, I've read several reports of people coming to Deadhorse and it just being miserable. Our trip up was really a piece of cake. I mean, there'd been no rain for several days. As a matter of fact, Deadhorse had a record high temperature at one point, just in the preceding days. So everything was dry. But that changes in the next episode, because when we left Deadhorse, it was pure tea hell for 2 days for 500 miles back to Fairbanks. So tune in for that one. Again, I appreciate everybody following along. I appreciate the comments and the feedback I get. And that's it for now. This week I'm in Fairbanks. I'm staying at the University of Alaska in Fairbanks at their dorm for $40 a night. It's a good deal. You should check out dorm rooms. That's it. Later. Thanks.